Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I am seriously so excited about what we're unpacking today. We're going to explore a truly monumental shift in history, drawing directly from a really fascinating collection of legal documents, sociological research, and futurist texts. But to make this complex web of information truly come alive, we're going to frame this explainer through a story. Imagine a conversation taking place in the year 2100 in India between a 70-year-old grandfather Dada and his 15-year-old grandson Rohan. Now, Dada is old enough to actually remember the stories and the lingering echoes of the scarcity era of the early 21st century. Rohan, on the other hand, he's a child of the absolute post-scarcity utopia known as the Global Abundance Accord. So, let's dive right into this. So Rohan kicks things off by asking this incredibly naive, yet honestly profoundly deep question. He says, Dada, how did you all even survive? Like, everything was paywalled? You actually traded pieces of paper just to eat? And that question brilliantly sets up the stark contrast between their two realities, right? Because for Rohan, the very concept of paying for a basic human need is as foreign as, I don't know, hunting with a spear is to us today. But for his grandfather, that was just the harsh reality of the world he was born into.
Section 1. The Era of Scarcity, Poverty as a Human Rights Violation. Dada explains how things used to be. You see, Beta, he sighs, in my time, in my father's time, poverty wasn't just an empty wallet. It was a complete package of rights violations. The struggle for basic survival back in the 2010s completely contradicted the legal ideals of the time. You see, the Supreme Court of India had repeatedly ruled that the fundamental right to life meant living with substantive dignity. It wasn't just about, breathing. It included nutrition, shelter, and basic human expression. But as Dada points out to Rohan, the law promised dignity, but the economy of scarcity meant millions were left fighting for scraps just to survive the day. Dada brings up this brilliant text from a 2018 law review, which explicitly states that the state is bound to make the right to a meaningful life available to its citizens. And the absolutely crucial point here, as Dada emphasizes, is the concept of real freedom. Without a basic, guaranteed income, the poorest citizens completely lack the real freedom to exercise any of those beautiful constitutional rights. I mean, think about it. A right to free speech or self-determination doesn't really mean much when you are literally starving.
Section 2. Universal Basic Income, the Bridge to Real Freedom.
To solve this monumental crisis, Dada tells Rohan about Universal Basic Income, or UBI. This was a fiercely debated initiative back then, designed to provide regular cash payments from the state to all individuals, with zero means testing or work testing attached. It was seen as a moral imperative, not just an economic policy. To really ground this, Dada shares a story from a massive 2010 pilot project in Madhya Pradesh, India. He says, imagine, Rohan, just 200 rupees a month per adult back then. It seems like absolutely nothing to you, but for those villagers, that tiny unconditional grant was revolutionary. And the research backed this up. That micro-grant radically improved nutrition, boosted school attendance, and sparked incredible economic activity. It allowed people to finally plan for tomorrow instead of just surviving today.
But Dada, didn't free money just make people lazy? Rohan asks, totally echoing the most common myth of that era. But actually, the data proved the exact opposite. UBI radically changed the incentive structures available to the poor. It didn't make people lazy at all. It empowered them. By investing in the freedom of individuals, it gave them the agency to take risks, start small businesses, and actually build a decent economy. It was really the very first step out of the dark ages of scarcity.
Hearing this, Rohan eagerly maps out the timeline. He traces humanity's journey from those early UBI cash experiments in 2010 straight into the exponential technological explosion of the 2020s and 30s, moving through the really messy post-scarcity transition of 2050, all the way to their current reality, the Global Abundance Accord of 2100.
Section 3. The Technological Singularity, Eradicating Scarcity Forever.
See, the old capitalist system just collapsed because of sheer abundance, Dada, Rohan explains, just buzzing with energy. He brings up Ray Kurzweil's classic framework of the singularity to show how exponential computing was spot on. Computing power doubled and doubled again until machines could manufacture almost any physical product from inexpensive raw materials. We merged biological and non-biological intelligence exactly as predicted, and that completely transformed what it meant to be human and what it meant to produce goods.
To Rohan, the past looks completely ridiculous. He contrasts Dada's era of scarcity economics, where things are valuable only because they're rare, with his own era of abundance economics. He explains how self-replicating 3D printers, what early pioneers called rep-wraps, drove the cost of goods down to the bare minimum of just raw materials and energy.
when a machine can print another machine, and that machine prints your food and clothes, Rohan laughs, charging money for it becomes a mathematical joke.
So the crucial takeaway here is this. With production costs effectively hitting zero, UBI itself became entirely obsolete. I mean, you don't need a basic income if everything is basically free, right? Rohan proudly defines their current world system for data, bringing up Jacques Fresco's historic concept of a resource-based economy. This is a society completely devoid of money, barter, or debt. Everything is driven by scientific resource management and total automation. It is the ultimate realization of that substantive dignity the Supreme Court talked about, engineered entirely through technology.
Section 4. The Global Abundance Chord. Daily Life in 2100.
So what is life actually like under the Accord? Well, there are no alarm clocks, there are no corporate calendars, no commutes, and no utility bills whatsoever. The entire globe operates under a decentralized, self-correcting AI system called the Autonomous Resource Matrix, or ARM. Hungry? Drones deliver instantly from vertical farms or molecular synthesizers right to your kitchen node. Healthcare. You don't even go to a hospital anymore. Microscopic biosensors in your bloodstream fix cellular degeneration before you even feel a symptom. Entertainment? The AI reads the room's mood and dynamically generates personalized, cinema-quality movies on the fly. To Rohan, this absolute frictionless perfection is just normal, everyday life.
And without the constant burden of survival, human time is dictated entirely by biological rhythms and communal curiosity. The generational cycles of 2100 ensured children focus purely on play-based learning and interacting with robotics. Parents, they dive deep into creative arts and exploration. And elders, like Dada, focus on oral history, legacy tasks, and philosophical mentorship. It sounds like an absolute paradise, doesn't it? Everyone is finally free to self-actualize.
Section 5. The Post-Scarcity Paradox. The Hidden Cost of Utopia.
But our story takes a sharp turn right about here. Dada leans forward, and his tone totally shifts.
It is a beautiful cage, Rohan, but it is still a cage.
He starts listing the symptoms of a severe psychological crisis, what sociologists in 2100 call cognitive leatherism. First, there's existential boredom, which is this profound loss of human drive because there are simply no real obstacles left. Second, the atrophy of resilience. Dada warns, people today, Beta, they break down over the smallest disagreement because they have no emotional calluses. They've never faced a harsh monsoon or an empty stomach. And finally, total dependency. Humanity has become entirely reliant on a machine they no longer have the knowledge to fix.
The bravado kind of fades from Rohan's voice. Trading our evolutionary edge for a lifetime of unearned comfort, he thoughtfully agrees. He admits that trying to master the sitar or learn physics feels profoundly empty when he knows the ARM system can generate a perfect symphony or solve a complex quantum equation in a microsecond. The lack of genuine challenge is creating a really unique form of depression rooted entirely in uselessness.
Dada references Nick Bostrom's historic work on existential risks to really drive this point home. While humanity survived the massive threats of nuclear war and engineered pandemics during the scarcity era, Dada argues they've stumbled blindly into a new, profound risk. They have become a species of pampered, passive consumers. If the autonomous resource matrix were to ever critically fail, humanity wouldn't just be inconvenienced, they would face a terminal extinction event. Why? Because the baseline knowledge of basic survival has been completely forgotten.
Which brings us to the final, honestly haunting question Dada poses to his grandson, and the one that we really need to pose to ourselves today as we march toward this technological future. Have we truly achieved human dignity by eliminating all struggle, exactly as the legal scholars of the 2010s dreamed? Or, in our relentless pursuit of absolute abundance, have we simply engineered away our own human purpose? It's a fascinating paradox to consider. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through today's Explainer. Keep questioning the future, and I'll see you next time.